Good day, everyone, and welcome back to Core 011, 21st Century Literature of the Philippines and the World. For today's session, we will be having Module 6 and Module 7. For Module 6, our lesson title is Short Story and its Elements, and here are our lesson objectives. While for Day 7, our lesson title is Writing Short Story. And here are our lesson objectives. Module 6 and Module 7 deal with only one topic, and this is all about short story. Now, what is a short story? A short story is a brief fictional prose narrative that is shorter than a novel and that usually deals with only a few characters. It is a work of fiction that is usually written in prose, often in narrative format. It presents one aspect of the life of a character. It could be an incident, an event, a description of a feeling, or even a simple act. A short story can also impact a reader and even inspire them. For persons who cannot read novels, enjoy reading the short stories. Moreover, in a short story, the character also share their innermost thoughts, their motives, their feelings, their emotions, and different notions. Now let's get to know the different elements of a short story. Every story or narrative has 5 essential elements. Let's take a closer look at each of the 5. First, we have setting. Narratives have a time and place where the action is set. The setting describes where and when the story takes place. It helps build background and create images in the mind. Details can describe time of the day, time of the year, time in history, scenery, weather, and location. Next, characters. Narratives have characters. A narrative has to have a protagonist, which is the main character in the story, and one or more antagonists, characters who are in conflict with the protagonist. Characters may involve people, animals, or even other creatures. The protagonist is the good guy in the story, while the antagonist is the bad guy, or it could also be a force. Next is plot. Plot is what happens in the story. The action of every story can be mapped out using a plot diagram. There are 5 key points to the plot of every story. First is the beginning or exposition. Second is the rising action. Third is the climax. Fourth is the falling action or denouement. And fifth is the resolution. Now let's talk about the plot components using this diagram. First, we have their exposition. It is the start of the story, before the action starts. Now going up is the rising action. It is the series of events and conflicts in the story that lead to the climax. Now up the top of the diagram is the climax. It is the turning point or the most intense moment, either mentally or in action. Now going down is the falling action, all of the action which follows the climax. And then the last is the resolution, the conclusion, the tying together of all the threads. Another element of a short story is conflict. For there to be a narrative, the main character or protagonist has to have a conflict or problem. Conflict is the battle between two forces. It is the struggle between two forces in a story. Without conflict, there is no plot. Now we have different types of conflict. First, we have character versus character. Second, character versus nature. Third, character versus society. And fourth is character versus self. The last element of a short story is the theme. Narratives have a theme, or main idea, or underlying meaning. Theme should be stated in a complete sentence. Theme is the message that the writer is trying to convey all throughout the story. Now let's talk about the characteristics of a short story. First, it should be highly economical with every word, all characters, dialogue, and description designed to develop single predesigned effect. Second, most short stories revolve around a single incident, character, or period of time. Third, should be capable of being read at one sitting. Fourth, opening sentence should initiate the predetermined or predesigned effect. Fifth, once climax reached, the story should end with minimal resolution. And then the last, characters should only be developed to the extent required by the story. Now let's have our story time. The story that we will be having today is The Gift of Maggie by O. Henry. But first, let us get to know the author. His real name is William Sidney Porter, also known by his pseudonym O. Henry. He was an American short story writer. O. Henry's short stories are known for their wit, wordplay, warm characterization, and surprise endings. Let's talk about the setting of the story. The story takes place somewhere in New York City where the Dillingham couple lived in a shabby second-story flat. About the time it was Christmas Eve a long time ago. The weather condition is cold because it was winter. The social condition, Dillingham couple was financially struggling. The mood or atmosphere is life is made up of sobs, sniffles, and smiles, with sniffles predominating. Let's deal with the characters of the story. We have there Delia Dillingham. She is a loving, devoted woman to her husband, described in the story as a young, affectionate, and selfless. We also have there Gene Dillingham. He is Delia's husband, described in the story as 22-year-old thin man who worked hard so they could have enough money to pay their flat. However, despite this, he's described as someone who's contented, quiet, and good-natured. Loves Delia as much as she loves him. We also have Madame Sofroni, the hair shop owner who bought Delia's hair for $20. She was mentioned as a large, too white, and too chilly or cold despite being called Madame Sofroni. Now let's start with the exposition of the story. When the story opens, Delia and Jim are living in a simple flat on $20 a week. It is Christmas Eve, and Delia is lovingly dreaming of buying a gift for Jim. But here's the conflict. Delia has only $1.87 to buy her husband a gift, which is not enough. Moving to the rising action, Delia decides to sell her hair for money so she can purchase a gift worthy of Jim. She gets $20 and uses it to purchase a platinum chain for Jim's heirloom watch. Madame Sofroni bought her hair for a cold $20. Now here's the climax. Delia and Jim exchange gifts. Jim has sold his watch to buy Delia a beautiful set of combs. Neither one of them will be able to use their gifts. Now moving on to the following action. Jim and Delia decide to put their gifts away until they can both use them. And here's the resolution. Despite their errors, Delia and Jim still love one another and learn a valuable lesson about sacrifice and love.